have a divisional round preview coming your way on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. as the Eagles will play host to the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC Divisional round on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. Can't wait for this game, and coming up during our preview, storylines, how the Eagles got here, how the Rams got here, keys to an Eagles victory, matchups to watch, all that and a whole lot more. This game taking place at 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday at the Link. A little bit of a weird start time for this ball game, but the NFL, they understand they're a big power, and they're trying to separate all these games throughout playoff weekend to maximize views because they're going to be raking in the cheddar. The Eagles are 6-point favorites in this game, and the over-under between two high-octane offenses when they're playing their best football, pretty low at 43.5. And I think this line here with the Eagles being favored by 6, pretty interesting. But the Eagles are big favorites, and they should be. Why is that? Well, Philadelphia is the more talented roster. They're the deeper roster. They're at home. They have the rest advantage. The weather advantage could play into the hands of the Eagles as well. And Nick Sirianni is the head coach of the Eagles, 25-5 straight up as a 5.5-point favorite or higher. And, of course, Philadelphia giving 6 to the Rams in this game. So much to get to here on the show. But before we continue to move forward, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join us on Sunday for our Eagles-Rams watch party. Just like we did for the wild card round against the Green Bay Packers, we will be going live for a 90-minute pregame show. So our show gets underway and our coverage gets started at 1:30 p.m. Eastern at 10:30 a.m. out there on the West Coast. And an updated look at our chase toward 100,000 subscribers. We had a huge day on Monday picking up some new subs. Let's continue to march toward that silver plaque so that we can get that in our hands from YouTube. 616 people away from 100K. So if you want Eagles coverage every single day and year-round, be sure to lock us in and hit that subscribe button. How the Eagles got here to the divisional round. Well, in the first round of the playoffs at the Link, it was sloppy, but the Eagles survived and they advanced. That's the motto here in January across the NFL. Philadelphia winning that game over Green Bay 22-10. The Eagles forced 4 turnovers against the Packers, winning the turnover battle 4-0. 3 interceptions of Jordan Love, and Oren Burks was able to force that fumble on the opening kickoff of the game. So that momentum right from the jump on that Philadelphia sideline. Saquon Barkley, despite a lackluster passing attack for the Eagles, had success once again on the ground, looking every bit of the MVP candidate and NFL Offensive Player of the Year that he's been during the 2024 campaign. 25 carries for 119 yards. It was Darius Slay, Zach Bond, and Quinyon Mitchell who all intercepted Love in that ball game. And Jalen Hurts, while the eye test told us that he didn't play that well, and yeah, he looked a little bit rusty, the passing concepts were so elementary school level, still had a passer rating of 111.4. He threw 2 touchdowns, no picks, and he outplayed Jordan Love and got the win. Keep in mind, he didn't play for a month after suffering that concussion. I think that played into why Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore were very conservative with their passing game plan. How the Rams got here. Well, on Monday Night Football, they straight up hammered the Vikings 27-9. They sacked Sam Darnold 9 times. That young Rams defense has really made a lot of improvements this year, and this game was pretty much over at halftime. Los Angeles was up 24-3 at recess. This Rams defense, a big reason why they are where they are, because this Rams offense has been a little bit lackluster and spotty at times this year, outside of putting up 44 points on the scoreboard against the Buffalo Bills. That's what they're capable of. And last night on Monday Night Football, as we record this show on Tuesday, January 14th, fresh off that Rams win, a couple of days after that Eagles win, Matthew Stafford really spread the ball around, finding 8 different receivers against that Brian Flores really elite Minnesota Vikings defense. The Rams' resume started the season 1-4, so it's impressive that they made it to the playoffs, won the NFC West, and now they're in the final 8. They finished the year after that slow start 9-3. Beginning of the year, they had so many injuries. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, all across that offensive line. Couple of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but they finished the season hot, and including that wild card win against the Vikings, they have won 6 of their last 7. wins against playoff teams this year. Beat the Vikings twice, very impressive wins, and outlasted the Buffalo Bills in a wild game where we saw nearly 90 combined points scored, and in that game, Josh Allen accounted for 6 touchdowns. Losses against playoff teams for the Rams. Lost to Detroit early in the year, lost to the Green Bay Packers, lost to the Eagles. It's important to note that the Rams were so beaten up and battered early in the year, played a big role in them starting the season 1-4. As they've gotten healthier, they've become a really good team. And coming off of last year when they got hot from the midway point on, I thought the Rams were going to be a dangerous team here in 2024. They have been. Speaking of that Rams-Eagles game, let's throw it back and rewind back to Week 12 when the Eagles in primetime crushed the Rams. Final score 37-20. It was a little bit close at half, and then the Eagles able to beat the brakes off the Rams in the final 30 minutes. Saquon Barkley had a legendary historic performance, rushing 26 times for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. DeVonta Smith did not play in that game, and so A.J. Brown was the go-to target for Jalen Hurts. He caught 6 passes for 109 yards. Vic Fangio's defense was cooking. They held the Rams and Matthew Stafford to 0 of 8 on third down. The Eagles' defense also giving up just 290 yards in that game. Philadelphia averaged 7.1 yards per play. The Rams averaged 4.8 yards per play. On the ground, the Eagles had 7 yards per rush and ran for more than 300 yards as a team. The Eagles' defensive line also was all over Matthew Stafford throughout the duration of that ball game, deteriorating and breaking down the pocket. And when you get pressure on Stafford, he's simply not the same quarterback. Brandon Graham, a part of that pass rush, but suffered that torn triceps injury. I don't think that this game on Sunday will be as easy as the Eagles win back in Week 12. I think the Rams are better now. I think their defense is playing very well. Sean McVay is an elite head coach. And Matthew Stafford, when he's playing well, might be the best and most dangerous quarterback in the NFC. But when I think about this game, a few things come to mind. And I talked about this a little bit last night. I think the Eagles have the rest advantage, which they do, because the Rams played on Monday. Then they have to travel across the country. Wildfire still going on in the LA area, not making game planning or practicing easy. The Eagles have the talent edge. They are the better football team as compared to the Rams. They're the faster, more explosive team as compared to Los Angeles. The Eagles are also at home. Weather going to favor the Eagles. Right now it's so early, but the forecast calling between 30 and 40 degrees, potential snow in the forecast. That would favor Philadelphia, and the odds makers really like the Eagles in this game as well. Philadelphia, 6-point favorites, and I think they're going to clean some things up from that Packers game and play a lot better offensively in this second round tilt. So who you got? LAR for the Rams, PHI for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me know who you're going with in this game, and I'll give you my score prediction coming up here in a little while. Coming up next, so much still to get to. Continue to hang out here with us. Why would you go anywhere else? Keys to the game, matchups to watch, what the Eagles must do to be victorious against the Rams. Before we do that, if you want to go to this game at Lincoln Financial Field, download the Game Time app, the best app in the ticketing marketplace. You get the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop as the event gets closer. And right now, when you download the Game Time app and you create an account and you use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, you get $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. They have flash deals and zone deals. The more that you wait until the start of the event, the more that prices drop. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And thanks to Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier for you. You don't have to go through thousands of tickets. Instead, Game Time will give you the best deals and the best vantage point from those seats. It's not just an app, by the way, for sporting events. You can go to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and a whole lot more. A lot of tickets available for this Eagles-Rams game. If you want to be a part of that playoff atmosphere in South Philadelphia, the joint was rocking against the Packers. You could just sense the playoff intensity. This game got to be even more intense for the right to play in the NFC Championship game. So, best seats, lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop as the event gets closer. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use that code ChatSports. $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. Let's move forward with our preview. You're watching Eagles Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up, I'm going to go through what the Philadelphia Eagles must do to be victorious against the Los Angeles Rams to punch their ticket to the NFC Championship game. Key to the game number one, it's very obvious to me. The passing attack for this Eagles offense has to improve. They have to be better than they were against the Green Bay Packers, and I think everybody inside that building understands that. Now, Jalen Hurts had not played in a month. He was a little bit rusty, had to shake off the cobwebs. I also thought that Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni were very conservative with the Eagles' offensive game plan, and the passing concepts were way too simple. Were they doing that, understanding that Hurts was coming off that concussion? I think that played a role in it. I also think the Green Bay Packers did a really good job of defending Philadelphia. Hurts on the day, he wasn't terrible. Was he great? No. 13 of 21, 131 yards, 6.2 yards per completion, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Did not turn the ball over. That was huge. On the other sideline, Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions. And Jalen Hurts did have a passer rating of 111.4. But you look at how this passing game fared against Green Bay and against this young, improving Rams defense that's playing well, this is not going to cut it. DeVonta Smith, 4 catches for 55 against Green Bay. Dallas Goedert, 4 for 47 and a touchdown. Jahan Dotson, 1 catch. It was a big one. Went for that opening drive touchdown to capitalize off that forced fumble on the punt return to open up the ball game. A.J. Brown, 1 catch for 10 yards? That simply cannot happen. And Greg Calcaterra, 1 catch for 4 yards. That was a check down from Jalen Hurts. Kellen Moore on the pass game on Tuesday said this: it wasn't our best day. The passing game obviously wasn't our best performance on Jalen Hurts. He said he wasn't perfect, but he settled in. The Eagles have to be more aggressive in taking downfield shots. They have to be more complex with what they show the Rams. They have to get more creative and rely on 2 great wide receivers in A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith to win their matchups, but put them in a position to succeed. Also of note, you had Hurts coming off that concussion. A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, they didn't practice last week either and didn't get reps in with Jalen Hurts because they too were injured. Another week of prep. Hopefully that pass game is better. Key to the game number 2. The Eagles have an opportunity, like they did in Week 12, to run it down the Rams' throats. Saquon Barkley in that game, he might still be running away from the Los Angeles Rams. 26 carries, 255 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, both of which were from 70-plus yards, and he averaged 9.8 yards per carry on the night. And this Rams defense against the run, it has been a leaky unit all year, and they have struggled to contain the opposing team's rushing attack. They are 26th in yards per rush. They are 21st in rushing yards per game. 13 times this year, the Rams surrendered 100-plus rushing yards. The Eagles against the Rams ran it for 314, and the Rams are also 26th in net yards per attempt against the run. So this Eagles offensive line, which is the best in the NFL in my humble opinion, and those boys up front have to bring it. They have the opportunity to bring it. I think they will bring it. And when you run it, you control the clock. You keep that Rams offense on the sideline, and you keep that unit cold. This Rams defense, though, led by defensive coordinator Chris Shula, who is Sean McVay's college roommate, they have allowed 10 points or fewer in 4 of their last 5 games. Impressive body of work with all the youth on that side of the ball. Key to the game number 3, really 2 steps here. The Eagles' defense and their secondary, and Vic Fangio, have to game plan to take away Puka Nacua, and then this Eagles offensive line and this Eagles offense, they have to be aware of where rookie Pro Bowler Jared Verse is, and they have to stop him. And not having Nakobe Dean in this game, it's going to hurt the Eagles against the run and against the pass, and you already know that Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are salivating at the thought of Oren Burks playing and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. playing, given that he's a rookie. And on the exterior here, Vic Fangio is going to have to shade coverage toward Puka Nacua because Cooper Kupp, He may have had 100 targets this year, 67 catches, 710 yards, and 6 touchdowns. When you watch him play, doesn't have the same speed, doesn't have the same getaway ability. The short area quickness isn't there as much, which is what he relied on to win at the line of scrimmage with his routes because he's been a great route runner. And if you take away Puka Nacua, this Rams receiving core is pretty average. But you know that the passing game is going to go through Nacua. 106 targets this year, 79 catches, 990 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and he missed a few games with a knee injury. Kupp, again, just not the same guy, and the Eagles fared very well against Cooper Kupp back in Week 12. I thought Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, they did a pretty good job in their matchups against Puka Nacua. Going to have to repeat that performance. Both of those rookies pretty good against the Packers as well. You have Tutu Atwell, who is a speed gadget weapon, but he's pretty inconsistent, doesn't have reliable hands. He's also very small. Demarcus Robinson, 31 catches for 505 yards, does have 7 touchdowns, so in the red zone, he is a big target for them. And then I want to include Tyler Higbee on this list because he missed a lot of the year with an injury. He is now back, and the backup to Nakobe Dean, Oren Burks, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., they're going to have some reps up against Tyler Higbee, and Matthew Stafford is going to be cognizant of that. Another young player for this Rams team, Jared Verse, the edge rusher. Him going up against Lane Johnson, going to be a terrific matchup. Him against Jordan Mailata, going to be a great matchup. Verse this year, a Pro Bowler in year 1, overall PFF grade of 86.2, pass rush grade of 83.7. Both of those top 10 among all edge rushers. He's doing this in year 1. Run defense grade of 78.4, so he's a very multifaceted player. He had 77 pressures this year, some of the most among all edge rushers, and 4.5 sacks. So a lot of pressures, didn't always translate in sacks. What can the rookie do up against these 2 veteran offensive tackles for Philadelphia? I'll side with the Eagles once again. Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata against a rookie. Key to the game number 4, Eagles have to put Matthew Stafford under siege. When he has all day to survey the field, go through his progressions, that arm strength and that vision is still very, very special. But this Rams team is light on receiver talent. They don't really generate explosive runs, and Stafford is immobile. He's a statue in the pocket. But if you can't generate a pass rush, and the Eagles did that in Week 12, with 5 sacks of Stafford, he will carve you up. He will sling it if he has all day to throw in the pocket. But this Rams pass protection, they have been better after investing the offensive line in running the football. Sean McVay understood that a couple of years ago. That's why they've invested in the trenches on the offensive side of the ball. But in pass protection, they're 30th according to Pro Football Focus. They have given up 172 pressures. That's 12th most among all teams in the NFL. And their third down offense doesn't move the chains often. 36% on third downs. That's 25th among 32 teams. And finally, key to the game number 5. Eagles have to win on the money downs, money areas, and they have to cash in. You look at how the Rams stack up on both sides of the ball. You can use these numbers to your advantage when you're debating and talking ball with your friends with this matchup. The Rams, 19th in points per game at 21.9. So a Jekyll and Hyde unit that to end the year, they haven't manufactured a lot of points. They're 15th in yards per game, 15th in yards per play, 25th on third downs, and 25th in the red zone. That is a pretty mediocre offense right there. And defensively, they've done some sexy things to the eye on defense, but even the defensive numbers are kind of mid too. 15th in points per game, 25th in yards per game, 23rd in yards per play, 19th on third downs. That's the money down that I talk about here, that the Eagles, where they're 9th on third downs offensively, going to have to move the chains. The Rams, though, despite being mid in those other areas, they are good at keeping teams out of the end zone. 6th best red zone touchdown scoring percentage team in the NFL. And so converting on third downs and scoring touchdowns in the red area going to go a long way in determining the winner in this football game, in my opinion. As for the Eagles, led by offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, who has to be better in this game than he was against Green Bay. 7th in points per game, 6th in yards per game, 12th in yards per play, 9th on third downs, 14th in the red zone. So the Eagles offense, 14th in the red zone. Rams defense, 6th in the red zone. Again, huge key in this game. I can't emphasize that enough. The Eagles defense, 3rd in points per game at 18.1. Number 1 in yards and in yards per play. 6th on third downs, also very good in that red area. And then I want to throw this out there. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but surviving without Nakobe Dean is going to be huge in this game and if the Eagles advance. This is a massive loss for this Eagles team. More than 100 tackles, 9 TFLs, 6 quarterback hits, an instinctual player that plays with feel who's always around the ball. The drop-off from Nakobe Dean, who is having a career year, to Oren Burks is a big one. Vic Fangio also did say on Tuesday, I like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He's a really good player. I think that he's going to be a good player. That time might be now. We saw Trotter toward the end of the year. He plays with a lot of instincts. He didn't have great testing numbers, nor did Nakobe Dean at that linebacker spot. Playing with feel, playing with instincts, reading and diagnosing plays, that's important. So I'm interested to see what the linebacker rotation is going to be and what the snap count is going to be between Burks and Trotter. Zach Bond, by the way, going to wear the green dot now that Dean is out for the rest of the playoffs. So with that, predict the score. I asked you earlier who was going to win, but I want you to get more specific here. Predict the score. My score prediction. I think the Eagles put up 30 points. I think they find success on the ground. I think that this passing game shakes off the cobwebs. They knock off some rust. They're better through the air. And I think the Eagles win by a final score of 30-23 to make it to their second NFC Championship game in 3 years.